In the heart of a quiet little town, nestled within a peaceful park, stood an old wooden bench. It wasn't the shiniest bench, nor was it the newest. In fact, it looked quite ordinary, with its weathered wood and slightly peeling paint. But this bench had been there for a very, very long time. And it held a quiet secret. Somehow, in its own silent way, the bench remembered everyone who had ever sat on it. Every afternoon, like clockwork, a little girl named Mira would skip into the park. She'd make a beeline for the old wooden bench, hop on, and begin to swing her legs back and forth, her feet dangling just above the ground. She'd gaze up at the sky, watching the fluffy white clouds drift by, imagining them as dragons or sheep or giant scoops of ice cream. She'd chirp and chatter to the little sparrows that hopped nearby, sharing her daily adventures. Mira was waiting for her mother to finish work, and this bench was her special waiting spot. It listens, she whispered once to a curious robin, patting the sturdy wood beside her. And though the bench made no sound, it did. It listened to every word. Soon after, Mira's mother would arrive, her steps a little heavier than her daughter's. She'd sit down beside Mira with a tired sigh, the weight of her day settling on her shoulders. Her gaze would immediately fall to the screen of her phone, her fingers scrolling through emails and messages, her mind still buzzing with meetings and deadlines. She sighed again, a soft, almost imperceptible sound, not even noticing she'd done it. But the bench noticed. The bench remembered. It remembered when she was a young girl, not much older than Mira, sitting in this very same spot, not looking at a screen, but at the horizon, dreaming of all the things she would one day become. The old wood creaked, a soft, gentle sound, like a fond memory stirring. Some mornings, before the park grew busy, an old man would make his way slowly along the path. He walked with a gentle shuffle, a kind smile gracing his lips. He always wore the same soft felt hat, tilted just so. He would sit on the far end of the bench, take off his hat, and place it beside him. Then he would close his eyes, a peaceful expression on his face, as if listening to a distant melody. "I met my wife right here," he whispered to the air one day, his voice thick with emotion. "She had the most wonderful laugh." The bench remembered. It remembered the sound of her laughter, bright and clear, echoing through the trees on a sunny afternoon long ago. It remembered two young people in love, their hands intertwined, their futures stretching out before them like an open road. Then one afternoon, something shifted in the atmosphere of the park. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable. The air felt softer. The usual hustle and bustle seemed to quiet down. The breeze, which often rustled the leaves with a playful energy, now whispered through them like a lullaby. And the people who came to sit on the old wooden bench felt it too. They felt a strange, comforting warmth seep into them. It wasn't magic, not in the flashy, spell-casting sense. It wasn't a loud announcement or a grand event. It was just a feeling. A quiet, profound feeling of being seen, of being understood without having to say a word. On that soft, quiet afternoon, Myra stopped swinging her legs. She turned and looked at her mother, who was still staring at her phone, her brow furrowed in concentration. Myra studied her mother's face for a long moment. "Are you tired?" she asked, her small voice cutting through the digital haze. Her mother paused, startled by the simple, direct question. She looked away from the screen and truly saw her daughter for the first time that day. She let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. "Yes," she said, her voice filled with a raw honesty that surprised even herself. "Yes, I am very tired." Myra didn't say anything else. She simply reached out her small hand and gently placed it on her mother's. A small gesture, a simple connection. Her mother's fingers, which had been tense from typing, relaxed and curled around Myra's hand, holding it tight. Across the way, the old man, who had been watching them with his gentle eyes, broke into a slow, knowing smile. And at that exact moment, the old wooden bench creaked again. It wasn't the creak of old, tired wood. It wasn't the sound of something broken. It was a full sound. A sound of contentment. A sound of a heart being filled. The bench, in its silent wooden wisdom, knew a fundamental truth. It knew that children, with their pure hearts and simple questions, often remind adults of the feelings they've forgotten how to feel. And it knew that adults, with their worries and their strength, provide the safe space that allows children to learn and grow. But the bench also knew the most important thing of all, that sometimes both children and adults, the young and the old, simply need a quiet place to sit together, to hold hands, and to just breathe. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange, pink, and purple, the park grew quiet once more. The last of the children were called home for dinner, the dog walkers finished their final laps, and the evening hush settled over the trees and pathways. But the bench stayed. It remained in its familiar spot, under the old oak tree, bathed in the soft glow of the park lamps, waiting, listening, and remembering, always remembering. If this story made you feel calm or reminded you of a quiet moment in your own life, we'd be so grateful if you'd like the video and subscribe to our channel. Every like and subscription helps us share more gentle stories just like this one, for both kids and the grown-ups who love them. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again for our next story.